This is Popimpresska Journal, and we're here on this beautiful morning with Miriam Silverberg at the Arts and Antiques Center. Miriam, how are you today?
Very well, thank you. I'm happy to welcome you here. The Manhattan Art and Antique Center is over 30 years old. It's the premier art center in the world, in the country. We have 3 floors, close to 100 different vendors. They are selling art, antiques, antiquities, fine and vintage jewelry, antique furniture, antique silver, Chinese, Japanese works of art, and much more.
Now, how did you get involved with the center?
I became interested in it, and the manager and I decided to work together.
Excellent. And I know their center has an amazing Hemingway Gallery.
Yes, the Hemingway Gallery is one of the most important galleries in the center. It is it is devoted to, number one, stopping poaching in South Africa and the entire continent of Africa. They work very closely with the authorities to stop poaching. They also organize safaris to Africa.
Oh, so it's like more tour-oriented.
It's tour-oriented. Also, they sell African art, African antiques. They have one of the foremost, probably the foremost African gallery of antique African art in the country.
Now, how do they manage to get the art from Africa and bring over here? I know there's transition from, especially in Africa, is sometimes difficult.
They have connections naturally, and they do it all absolutely legally, because they are very concerned about people taking things illegally from Africa. For instance, they will never deal with ivory.
Right, yes, of course.
So they are very, very up and up.
Now, because we know the story of Hemingway and he was a big hunter, I know, why his gallery are taking places here? What is so special
Things have
about it?
changed in Africa. Things have definitely changed in Africa.
How so, would you say?
Some of these animals are almost extinct
Right,
because of so much hunting.
exactly. And it's been only a course of, what, 40 years?
Yeah.
Such a big transition, right?
Yeah, it's. He died in the 60s, and since then, so many of these animals are almost extinct. We cannot let that happen.
Now, if people sign up for the African safari trip through the Antique Center, what do they expect from a trip? How would it benefit them?
They get to see Africa up close. They get to see the animals up close. It's a never-to-be-forgotten experience.
That's fantastic. And what are other places in this center that people absolutely have to visit? And
there are the Chinese and Japanese vendors, Japanese, Chinese works of art. And there are many others that you will see that I will show you. They are highly beautiful. Right here, in fact, is the Hemingway Gallery.
Now, what's happening here usually on the time off? Like, what kind of events do you have? How people can get involved if they want to more?
Well, we're open 7 days a week. Monday through Saturday, 10:30 to 6. On Sunday, we open at 12 noon. We are planning fashion shows in September. We have already had a novelist reading from one of his books recently here. They had a reception.
Oh, who was that?
His name was L. Frank Hickey. He's a retired police detective.
Oh,
And he writes crime novels.
interesting.
So he read from one of his books.
So a lot of activities.
Yeah, very much so. And I think people would find it most interesting.
It is. And then how can they find you? What website should they follow?
to find me, Silverberg, M, at mindspring.com.
Okay. And the Art and Antique Center, what's their website?
MAAC.com.
Excellent. We are inside Ernest Hemingway Gallery, and we're here with Logan. Logan and her dad owns this amazing gallery. Logan, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Great. So tell me how your dad met Hemingway and all of the good stuff.
So my dad started this gallery in this space in 1975. He was friends with Greg Hemingway, who was Ernest's youngest son. And my dad is from South Africa, so when he came over here around that time, they met in New York City, and my dad was like, let's do this, African Art Gallery, Hemingway African Gallery. So that's how it started. Greg was never too much part of the scene. He was around a bunch, but my dad pretty much ran it from the beginning. And then I have been working here pretty much throughout my entire life, full-time for the past 7 years or so. So this is the original location, and then we have another gallery on another level that's more of the contemporary art.
Now, those pieces, where they come from, and like, what do they symbolize? What do they mean? Can you just tell us more?
So this is art from Africa, from all over Africa, from ancient to contemporary, the entire continent.
How
So I
far
can't
does it
tell
go?
you.
How far does it go ancient-wise?
Oh, I've got a piece that's 2,000 years old, but I'm not selling it. That's I don't like dealing in antiquities. Some of my favorite pieces. These are fish puppets from the Bozo people in Mali, and their fins actually move. And they are a fishing village on the Niger River, and their livelihood is fishing in the fish of the river. So they walk in processions with these. They hold them like this, or some of the puffer fish will go on their head and they clap the fins to make.
And what does that
music.
mean? What do they do that for?
That it's just celebration of the river.
Oh, so they actually praise everything that they do particularly.
Right. So if you just celebrate what gives you commerce. These are some of my other favorite things. I really love the colorful stuff. These are panels from Ethiopia, and these have some age. We think they were room dividers in houses, but I've never seen them in situ. But you can see that they've got age from being indoors and smoke residue, and they're just so decorative, and they're very good for New York and small apartments because you can put them in small places. These are actually prayer boards. So these would be placed outside in a village more near the houses for prayer, for touching when the churches are further away. So they wouldn't go all the way to the churches.
So they basically
did go
pray
like
that. Okay.
Yeah. So more of like an everyday prayer.
And what religion they follow over there?
It's mostly Christianity in Ethiopia. There is a Muslim population mostly in the capital, but Ethiopia has this city center called Lalibela, which is it's a heritage, UNESCO heritage.
Part of UNESCO, so nobody can do anything.
Nobody can do anything to it, but it's amazing because it's mountains, and they carve the churches into the mountains.
Interesting.
So it's solid rock structures. It's highly recommended.
There's like a Ark of the Covenant is there.
Well, that's what they say.
There's a place where they actually is guarded, right?
Yeah, so the Ark of the Covenant, that's where they say the Ark of the Covenant, but that's, they keep it in northern Ethiopia. Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, the beginning of time was in Ethiopia. The oldest skeletons bipedal skeletons are in the Rift Valley, Ethiopia. So.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, interesting. What was about it?
Well, Lucy, I think she's the oldest known skeleton. I don't know too much about my anthropology, but they have in Addis, Ethiopia, they've got the skeletons there, which is interesting. It's nice that they're in Ethiopia where they belong.
Yes.
We're really anti big cat hunting. And if you remember Cecil the lion
Yes.
that was killed.
We do.
One of Cecil's cubs was killed 2 days ago by a U.S. hunter.
Oh.
So that's devastating because the lion had a collar on it, just like Cecil did. Shot right outside the park. You know, they say it was legal, but
It wasn't.
you know, it's not ethical anymore. They bait the animals outside the park, so they'll put a carcass down to attract the lions, so then they can shoot it on a bait, which is not hard to do, so it's not hunting anymore. And after Cecil, they actually made it illegal to shoot a lion that had a collar on it. So that's what we're digging into. So
They make it legal?
they made it illegal.
Oh, illegal.
So how can it be prevented? Because, you know, they still will be doing that, right?
It's all about money. How can you prevent anything when so many people are making money off of it? And it just goes into the pockets of the officials and right on up to the government. This is Zimbabwe, so Zimbabwe is a bit of a mess, unfortunately. It's a fantastic country. I highly recommend going there. The people are fantastic. But when it comes to hunting and corruption, it's tragic. So I got an email from my dad saying he's just right after the safari, he's driving over to Zimbabwe to do some investigation. So stay tuned on that. We'll see. He'll get down to the bottom of really what happened there.
And you still have a team there who is helping him to expedite all of that?
We don't have any team. We're not a part of any organization. We don't raise money. Which I think is great because it makes it very transparent. We're not looking for anything. We're just trying to find information and put information out
there.
So it's purely the connections that he has over his, almost 50 years of safaris and conservation. So that's what's fun. We've got really, really great researchers from all over the world in Africa and all over Africa. So when it's not one thing, it's another, because the rhinos have been.
But do you have a message for people out there too that you want to kind of say, since your dad is doing this right now?
The mythology of conservation in relation to big cat hunting is just that. It's mythology. The money that hunters pay to shoot, for a permit to shoot an animal, especially cats. Now, hunting can be good in other animals. That's a different story. But with big cats, we do not have enough big cats to be shooting them.
Right.
Period. And they just don't see. There were millions of dollars raised after Cecil was killed. Not one dime is seen in Zimbabwe. And I have been there. I know. The lead researcher that put the collar on Cecil was driving a vehicle that had 600,000 miles on it and was falling apart, and he never saw one dime, and he was the one that put the message out and saving these lions. So you just don't see it. It doesn't go to conservation, period. So that argument, no, when somebody says that, it is false.
That is very sad.
Yeah, it's tragic. Sad. We're not going to have them.
Now, what's your contact number if people want to help or get in touch directly with your dad and you?
Well, I can give you the number. We can give, but
the website.
We have a website, Hemingway Safaris at HemingwaySafaris.com and HemingwayAfricanGallery.com. And you can reach us here at 212-838-3650.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, we bring people over, so it's not just learning about this. We do hands-on. We have a group that was there right now, and they actually were with some vets at a private reserve outside Kruger Park. So it's the lions that are open to Kruger National Park, and that's the main park in South Africa. And they were able to witness 2 lions being darted for research purposes, and they were able to help out and take part in that. And it turns out that those lions were positive for tuberculosis, which is ravaging the population. So that's another issue. And I could go on and on.
And you never think like the lion would be exposed to tuberculosis ever.
Right. So what happened was the cattle got tuberculosis from people.
From people?
Yes. And the cattle gave the tuberculosis to the buffaloes, and then the lions eat the buffaloes, and now the lions have tuberculosis.
That is just...
And that's been a fact for at least 10 years now. I think it's like 80% of the lions in South Africa have tuberculosis. So you can't be killing them if they're already dying from an epidemic.
And then what happens? Why people have such a high high danger of getting tuberculosis? The people, if you know, the animals got it from people. What do you think happening?
You know, tuberculosis is a really tough disease because it can, the spores of TB can withstand a lot of time and environmental pressure, so it can last for a long time. It's a huge health concern because also in Asia they are dealing in lion bones because tiger bones used to have mythological healing powers and you know, that kind of reference, and it's really difficult to tell the difference between lion bones and tiger bones. So now, especially China and Vietnam, they are importing lion bones to Asia for those purposes. Now, if those lions are full of tuberculosis, it's in those bones.
Exactly.
So we're trying to find evidence. Well, we're trying to stop this, first of all, but we're trying to find evidence that it is getting over there, because that would be devastating.
Because that's how people get it, basically, by using the same...
And especially if they're grinding it down and ingesting it. So we don't have proof of that yet, that it's actually happening. We know that we have proof that bones with tuberculosis have gone over to Asia, but we just don't know if people have gotten the disease yet. So hopefully not, but we're trying to figure that out. And hopefully that will be a motivation to stop this trade in lion
bones. And it's a very good information for passing out, for sure.
Run safaris, so that goes kind of hand in hand with the art. So we bring people over to Africa and buy art while we're over there as well. And
so the buy over there?
Yes. But yeah, we buy everything in Africa and import it ourselves. And we buy the contemporary stuff, we buy directly from the artists, and we've got great relationships with them. But the safaris, so we go all over Africa, mostly Southern Africa, South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Namibia. We go to Ethiopia, the gorillas in Uganda, in the Congo. How
close can you go to those animals?
I had some people there just last month, and they said that a male gorilla came up and put his hand on their shoulder. As long as you stay calm, they can tell that you're calm. And you can get right up. They come right up to you.
They do.
Yeah.
And then nothing crazy happens.
No. I mean, they're intelligent creatures. They're not going to attack you unless you're aggressive towards them. So, and the rangers there in Uganda and the Congo are fantastic, and they can read the situation, and you're never in any danger. But
now, where do people stay usually there?
In Uganda, it's all lodging accommodation, and it's very, very luxurious, especially in Uganda. It's a fantastic trip. Not too expensive. We like to try to keep, we're actually a lot less expensive than many safari companies that you'll find. We just don't like the extravagant numbers. So yeah, Uganda has a lot of lodge accommodation. But we do any range. So I'm leading a safari in 2 weeks in Botswana, and we're gonna be camping the whole time. So that's tense. It's a little more roughing it, but still very comfortable. You know, we've got a cook and then the food is fantastic in the bush. But
now, how about the water? Like, is there any problem with water when people go and everything?
No, I mean, we drink bottled water, but no, there's not been a problem. In South Africa especially, they have boreholes into the ground, so that's probably more clean water than any city in the world. So
basically, they actually have clean water and food and everything.
Oh yeah. New York City is much more dangerous than any place in Africa.
That's very interesting
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
With all this pollution around.
Yeah, you're more likely to be hit by a bus than to be attacked by an animal.
But
So,
yeah, interesting.
I mean, you got to be smart, obviously, but it's all about education. You know, you're not just staring at the animals. You're learning about how they act, the threats to their populations, and that.
Now, when you were there, like, what were the most like fun encounter you ever had with an animal?
Oh man, God, I've been going my whole life, but those hyenas are cheeky. They're hilarious. They are not scared of people anymore. They know when we're having dinner, and they come right up to the table and they want you to feed them like your house dog.
Oh yes.
Get away. They don't care anymore. So all of these are stools from all over Africa. This is kind of a famous shape of a stool. It's Ashanti from Ghana, and those are king stools, and they're really great. But these are all very, very old pieces. So a lot of these are Tonka stools from Zimbabwe, and the artists. So we also do in our other gallery. We've got Shona sculpture, which is the tribe in Zimbabwe that carves these fantastic solid stone modern sculptures. So
now tell me a thing about the mask, because every time like I see people, they come from Africa, they have a mask.
They have a
What is
mask.
so crazy about the mask?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So the thing about masks is they are making them now, and masks can be very, very decorative pieces. But what gives African art its value is when a piece has been used by the people in a tribal setting.
Oh.
So that's how we gauge it. Now we have a mixture of things. Like this is not a very old piece, but it's pretty. This was probably made for use, but not not made for export. So it's not a tourist piece, but it doesn't have. I don't see too much evidence of use by the people.
What is inside? Let's see. There's like shallow inside.
Yeah. So it's not. This isn't a high value one.
What would be like the most like prized possession as far as mask from this?
I've got them mostly upstairs, but this is a really neat piece.
And those are the like monkeys or some wooden.
Yeah, these are. Yeah, they're all. It's all. This is a cool one. This is a Kuba from the Congo.
Oh.
It's a helmet mask, so it sits on top of your head.
Somebody wore it.
Oh yes.
Looks like a tribal ritual piece.
Yeah. So that's what it's for. So it's celebrations, initiations.
Now what's that piece? It looks like a dragon.
This actually is not African, but
It's Chinese, right?
But we find it in Africa. So there's a couple pieces.
Found it in Africa.
Yeah, so there's a couple pieces here that aren't African, but we find them there. So then we think we're just like we buy what we like. That's what's fun about it.
And you bring it and you sell it here.
Yeah.
Oh, how great.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are those? Those like
more
the ones you see in the films, in the movies.
right. Right. So yeah, more masks. This is a power figure. Would have held a box that would have had different sorts of magical aspects to it, or mythological aspects.
Mythological. This looks like almost like faces with teeth.
Yeah, and these
is very spooky.
These
by
are the
way.
scarier ones. You know, he looks like he's alive.
Oh, they do. They like the eyes and everything. Like, what's the purpose for those?
You know, they're all different because it's all different people from all over Africa. Like this is Baule from the Ivory Coast, and this is Makonde from Tanzania. So a lot of times masks are used or made to, instead of to celebrate something, but they're made to hold the ancestor of a family. So instead of they don't say, so it's hard to phrase it, but instead of representing an ancestor, they say it is the ancestor, which is a really interesting aspect. Yeah.
Now we're going over here. That's all smaller figures.
Yeah.
Is it hard to get them out of the country? Like, what do you do in order? Like, how do you pack them? Or What do you?
Well, it's definitely tricky. You have to know the right people, but you have to do it all ethically. You never, fair.
But at the same
fair
time, you're
trade
helping
and-
their
Right, so it's helping their economy. The older pieces, so the ones, like I said, that were used by the people, those you don't really find in Africa anymore because they've all been exported, and they're the higher value ones. So those you'll find in private collections and such. But the decorative stuff, like those panels and the fish, are still being made today, and we buy them because they're just they're decorative, and that doesn't mean that they're sure their monetary value might be a little bit lower, but that doesn't mean that they're not lovely.
And then what's this piece? It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Turtle and some rocks in there.
It's a game board. So you play, well, this is a kettlebell.
Oh, the cat.
So,
sounds like very fun.
so you play, it's kind of like Mancala. I remember playing as a kid.
And that's the tiger
drop
eye, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
That's a very good game. I never saw that before. Okay, and then those are also some.
More of those panels from Ethiopia. It's great to put the color into things.
And this is hats, safari hats.
This,
dad's.
yeah, exactly. This is
It's a very old one.
yeah, a British pith helmet, but it's a little small.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's nice.
You would have that.
We just collect. It's about collecting and buying what you like.
And then, do you want to just show us
Sure.
here?
And then before we get over to the empty side, these are really beautiful things. They're dancing shields from Cameroon.
Can I touch it?
Yeah.
It's like,
And they're wooden, and they're not very heavy, so they're for dancing. These are being made now, so these are more decorative, but they're so modern looking, and very sought after.
and then those metal are also wood there.
Yeah, those are metal. Those are just
are
fun,
metals. Yeah, those
fun
are metals.
things. So it's really important to differentiate the older tribal stuff and these modern fun things. So.
And the chessboard.
Yeah.
They play chess there. What games do they play in Africa?
Yeah, they play everything we do. I mean, probably in the older tribal times, things were different. These kinds of games, but.
And then, so locals, how do they provide for themselves? Do they go hunt for the food, or what's?
Well, it depends. It depends on where you are. A lot of cultures are cattle. And those are the livelihoods.
Goats, do they have goats too?
Yeah, goats. A lot of agriculture. Like I said, it just purely depends on the village and the people. But
And what do you find more interesting, fascinating about those little tribes? What do you think strikes you the most? Because basically they live very different from modern civilization.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's a more simple lifestyle, and it shows you how you don't need much to live.
How do they educate their children though?
There are schools.
Yeah, there's schools.
Yeah, there's schools. I mean, oftentimes the kids have to walk many miles to schools because there's no transportation. But
And not at all nothing.
Schools.
How do people get around?
Walk. They walk.
Oh.
Well, it depends. In Ethiopia, the women will walk for miles and miles every single day to gather firewood to bring back to the village.
They do still. This is your other gallery.
Yes. So this is slightly different than the other space. We moved up here about 6 months ago and brought all the contemporary stuff up here. So this is all being carved right now by contemporary artists in Zimbabwe.
Oh.
It's called Shona sculpture, and they do these fantastic pieces.
Look at this. That's beautiful.
Yeah, all this stone is indigenous to Zimbabwe. They have these amazing quarries. This stone is called Veritable stone, and it's actually a very, very hard stone.
Green.
It's a semi-precious stone. And yeah, it's just gorgeous.
How heavy the sculpture is.
Heavy.
How do
I
you
couldn't
move
even
that?
estimate. We're crazy. We're probably the only ones that import these size pieces.
But it's so beautiful too.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. So these more realistic pieces are on the older side. These artists started carving in the 1950s.
And what is this? Oh, that's the artist.
Yeah, so that's the
Oh,
artist.
that's actual artist.
His name is Peter Chikenberki.
And why is it like pale color? This is green here.
Yeah, it's a good question. This is the stone before it's been polished.
Oh.
So once you heat the stone and put a little bit of wax in it, it brings out the amazing color.
That is interesting. How it changed.
Yeah, I know, it's fantastic. So these are all carved with hammer and chisel only, and they have amazing skill. To do these big ones, it takes them a very long time.
And I like this piece. What is that one here? There's also the same white color and it changes.
Right, so that's actually the artist of this piece. His name is Dominic Ventura, and he's one of the more famous ones. He became quite popular about 15 years ago.
And it's interesting because it's all like their culture. It's what they're known for. So.
Right, and they're not. They don't learn their skills in schools. They're not trained. It's purely handed down through the generations.
That's amazing what they can do.
Yeah.
And what about that cat too?
This is a cool piece.
It's a hybrid,
Yeah, well, it's like a hybrid. We're not sure about it.
Do the animals mix there, or they
No.
pure breed, right?
No, I think it's probably a leopard because of the tail. And this stone is actually called Leopards Stone, which is you can tell because of the spots in it. But there's all sorts of different, like this bowl is also leopard stone, so it's got so many good.
Same. Where do they get that stone from?
It's all there in Zimbabwe, so that's why this is why it started happening. They've got these fantastic quarries, and a lot of the stone now is this black stone, which is called spring stone.
That stone too?
Yeah.
So how come they make it so fine and thin?
And they're just fantastic.
That's amazing. This is amazing.
He's just an amazing artist. It's actually iron ore, so if you melted it, you get iron. So it's so hard.
It is, right? Okay. And then what is this made? Is from the same?
This is a stone called cobalt, which is this deep purple. It's also this one too.
Like cobalt. Cobalt, we know they put it on cups, right?
Exactly.
That's from the same basic material.
Right.
But it's actually, this is like deep purple.
Yeah, it's an amazing stone.
And those, what is the Shona sculpture?
Yeah. So that's one of the first generation artists. So they their works are a little bit more valuable because they were the first ones to start carving. And this one is Fanizani.
What is that? Fanizani.
Fanizani is the name of the artist, and he passed away about 4 years ago now. So when they pass away, we usually don't sell the pieces after they die, but I've got a couple of his, and he's an amazing man.
And you've known them personally?
I do. Here's a picture of me with, this is Mubai, and he did these ones.
How beautiful.
And he's also first generation, so he's in his 80s now, but he's still carving. He's Mubai and Manzi are the only two left that are still alive of the original guys.
Interesting. So they basically sell this to you like directly?
Yeah, we buy from them.
That's fantastic.
Got all personal relationships. Yeah.
And look at that. This beautiful piece as well.
Yeah, so it's...
And what are those? That's also the shields, right?
Yeah, so there's like downstairs. These are not old pieces.
And look at those fine pieces.
Yeah,
They basically carve the face like that. It's amazing. It's just. What about this stone?
Lots of talent. That's again the verdite, which is the same as that woman up front, but it's got varying shades of green in it.
It's just unbelievable what a refinery work they do.
Yeah,
it's just amazing.
High skill.
Beautiful pieces. Like really refined, like almost like a painting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well. And this one here, it's wood, right?
Yeah, so that's another example of not African.
Oh, okay. So where's that piece from?
So we're not positive. I think it might be Thailand, but I need to do a little bit more research. It's
looks like an elephant.
The front of a boat. But it's an old piece. I just loved it.
That is very old. So. You never know what you have sometimes.
Right. I mean, we buy what we like, so it's...
Very cool.
It's fun, yeah.
What is that, the canvas?
This is the painting that we love.
Oh, very cool, very cool. So that is a painting?
Yeah.
So what media do they use, do you know?
This is probably acrylic. I'm not.
But very cool. you
Yeah.
know, so nice.
Well, it was very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming to the
Thank
gallery.
you, Logan,
and seeing us.
and we hope people will visit you.
Yes, please come on. I'm here every day.
Thank you.
Come keep me company.
Thank you very much.